Hi and welcome to Last Watch. Today is more of a reveal than an unboxing. Back in December of last year, I thought I'd start looking for my first mechanical watch. I spent the Christmas period doing some online research to see what would appeal to me, and I narrowed it down from quite a long list to two watches. The first one being the Precista Royal Navy Diver PRS 82. That's available from Time Factors. What was appealing about that watch was the fact that it's classed as a British watch. I am English, I live in Scotland, I consider myself British, and I thought it would be nice to wear a British watch. The other watch I was looking at was definitely not British. It's from a German manufacturer called Steinhart, and that was the Steinhart Ocean Vintage Military 1. Very similar looking watches, and in my ignorance, because I am new to watch collecting, I hadn't realised initially, although I learnt very quickly, that they were both homage watches and they both homaged a certain Rolex. Now, Precista, I think the guy that runs the website is having a few family issues at the moment, and that kind of put off my purchase because if you click to buy the watch online, you get a message back from him explaining that his wife is having a few medical problems and that hopefully he'll update the website at the earliest opportunity, but family's a priority and I can totally respect that. So inevitably the watch that I chose ended up being a Steinhart. Now, this Steinhart isn't what it would first appear to be. Again, we'll get into the box. Very nicely packaged, and we have this faux leather case with the Steinhart logo on the top. We open it up, and there we have it. There is the Ocean Vintage Military. But this watch is hiding a secret. There is something very different about this watch, very different from the norm. I'll give you the dimensions of the watch, and that should blow its cover. We have a thickness of 14mm, a lug to lug of 47.5mm, and a lug width of just under 20mm. And if that hasn't given the game away, a diameter of 39mm. So what we have here is the Steinhart Ocean Vintage Military 39. This is an exclusive run made for Gnomon watches by Steinhart. Gnomon watches are based in the States. This watch can only be bought in the States. Proof that it's one of the limited run of 300 watches is the fact that this watch is number 271 from that run. As you can see, I've still got the plastic on the back. Have yet to take that off. No reason to take it off. I'll let it fall off naturally over time. What struck me about this watch when I first saw it was how small it was, especially compared to my Citizen watch, for example. This being a 44, this being a 39. But also, substantially, it's quite a heavy watch, even taking into account the bracelet. So it's quite a small, compact, heavy watch, which lets me think that there's a bit of quality at play here. The watch is all stainless steel, 316L stainless steel. It's brushed on the top, polished on the sides. It has a screw down back, as we've already seen. And it has a screw down crown at the 3 o'clock position, nicely nestled between those crown guards. Pops out and is hacking. Pop it back in. Nice bit of knurling on there to get a grip, even for my stubby fingers. The bezel is 120 click bezel. Not much, well, there isn't any backward play on it. Clean sound. reassuring back to the $12 position. The bezel has an aluminium insert, like a gloss black. It has minute indicators all the way around, numerals at the 10, 20, 30, 40 and 50, but indices at the 5-minute markers as well. The loom pip is a raised loom pip with a chrome border around it. The bezel, I should mention, has a nice coin edge to it, which is polished, almost like a jewel. It is a real gem, and you can see the sapphire crystal, domed sapphire crystal there, which I believe has anti-reflective coating on the interior. The handset, I've heard rumour that the handset is the same handset from the 42mm variation of this watch, which would explain the way the second hand brushes nicely around the interior of that watch right to the edge. So looking at the face of the watch, the dial is a matte black, kind of a smoky matte black. It has a printed dial with old radium loom to give it that vintage look. And here we have a green glow from the superluminova of the old radium vintage loom. It has a sword type handset, apart from the second indicator, which is an arrow. And we have second markers all around the chapter ring. We have at the 12 position the Steinhart Ocean 1 logo. And then just above the 6th position we have a little graphic there with the 1 inside to represent Steinhart Ocean 1, and also a label indicating the 300-meter water resistance of this watch down to 1,000 feet. And if you look very closely, it does say Swiss made in there. Now there are rumours that although this watch may be put together and finished in Germany, that a lot of the parts may be made in China, and I have seen forums that suggest that this shares some of its parts with Phoebus, which again are gaining a fantastic reputation as being a decent economy watch. But for something that is still not that expensive, this is a fantastic watch. It really is. It's very classy looking. I've been using it as my dress watch, something that I ultimately may do. I may buy a dress watch, but this is more than adequate until that happens. Looking at the bracelet, I've actually taken a few links out of this bracelet. As you can see, I think there was one link from one side and the other 3 from the other. And on the wrist, as I mentioned, this wears very, very comfortably and no weight at all. Although when I picked it up initially, it did feel quite heavy and solid. On the wrist, it doesn't feel like I'm wearing this watch, which again is a big plus for me. The bracelet starts at the watch end at 20mm and tapers down to 16mm towards the fold over clasp. It's all brushed metal. It is super smooth, very, very comfortable. I adjusted this myself for my 7-inch wrist. It has screw pins in there which were very easy to take out with a jeweler's screwdriver. Something that you shouldn't shy away from doing yourself. Beautifully milled bracelet. The actual locking facility on it, the fold over bit here, is pressed, as is the fold over locking clasp, which is polished and signed with the Steinhart logo. We also have 4 micro adjustment holes here on the clasp, making it very easy to fine tune to your fit. And uniquely, there seems to be an extra pin in there. I don't know if that's the norm on metal bracelets, but very handy to have a spare. This bracelet is a big plus on the watch, I think. It had been my intention to put this watch on a Bond NATO strap, but given how comfortable this bracelet is on my wrist, I'm going to keep it as is. It really doesn't feel like I'm wearing a watch when I have this on my wrist, so I've been very, very lucky. It is a super comfortable watch. I think I've really lucked out with this watch. Movement wise, we have the ETA 2824-2 a Labo movement, Swiss made movement, 25 joules, and has proven itself to be very accurate so far. I've been using Tool Watch to gauge the accuracy of this watch, and so far it has been giving me anywhere between -2 and +2 seconds per day. Now I should explain that when I'm wearing this watch, I wear it on my left wrist. I wear it obviously in the downward position. In the downward position, it's running up to -2 seconds per day. However, if I leave this watch lying flat on the bedside table, on its back, then it will run at +1 to +2 seconds per day. Therefore, generally, if I leave this on the bedside table overnight, it's probably balancing out. Ideally, I'd love it if it was running seconds fast, but I can live with -1 or 2 seconds per day. I'm certainly not going to complain about the accuracy of this watch. So they've obviously done a very, very good job at regulating this watch. So I was quite lucky in purchasing this watch. They were all sold out on the Gnomon website in America. But I did read somewhere that someone had said, if you want a watch and you're prepared to wait, it'll come along at the right price. This watch popped up in January on eBay, and I made a cheeky offer on it. I was counter offered, and I came back with yet another cheeky offer on it, and the seller accepted. I should point out that if I'd bought this watch from Gnomon in the States and had it shipped to me, then with the import duty charges, it would have cost me more than I paid for it buying it through eBay. So it was certainly worth, on that occasion, purchasing a day-old watch from someone who had decided that this watch was too small for him. Shame for him, plus for me. Now, I have done a video about importing a watch from America. I'll put the link up here. Please feel free to check it out and cater into any costs that you might incur whilst importing a watch from the States, as I'm sure many of you will do. So I had a bit of a scare with this watch. The power reserve on this watch is estimated at 40 hours. I'd left it on my bedside cabinet for a couple of days, neglected to wind it. I had picked it up and it was still running, but effectively I think the watch had died, and by picking it up it had started again. So when I come to do the Tool Watch accuracy check on it, it was 508 seconds out. So I'm assuming it must have just died moments before I picked it up and then restarted with me picking it up. I must add that I've not had a scare since. I've been quite proficient at checking this watch daily, and it's not let me down past that -2 seconds per day. With regards to my first mechanical watch, I feel I've really lucked out, and part of me is a bit worried that the next watch I get may not be as nice as this watch. Maybe I've peaked too early. Well, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the Steinhart Ocean Vintage Military 39. Please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel and keep an eye out for my next post.